So I'm here. We're on our 14th episode of the Real Talk Experiment. I'm here with the new Steelers fan, Kendrick Farm.
Oh my God,
Ken Farm, thanks for being on here. We actually wanted
I didn't think I was gonna lose this bet.
We actually just wanted to do a podcast before the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl's today, but this video won't be uploaded till tomorrow. So, but I just want to say that it's a
full disclaimer. I'm like he's more the Steelers fan. I lost a bet, and then over here.
Any person that loses a bet has to come on my podcast and wear Steelers gear. That's going to be my new thing.
That's going to be your new thing? God.
Yeah. I just want to say that I think the Steelers were robbed, which is why I'm wearing this, because I want people to remember who the true 6-time Super Bowl champions were.
Wow.
No cheating.
Wow.
No Deflategate. None of that, bro. And then we were cheated out of the
those
playoffs.
Balls were swollen.
We were cheated out of playoffs. So
about?
I'm just here to raise awareness. It's kind of like when they wear pink for breast cancer.
So I have to wear this because I fucking lost? Yeah,
so
fuck you.
We're wearing black and gold to raise awareness about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who should have been in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I think Russia was involved.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're gonna bring that up.
I think Russia, Tom Brady, Belichick.
Hold on.
I think they're all
Wow.
they're all
no.
They're all out to get us.
Look, I remember when there was a time where the New England Patriots were going against the Broncos. Was it Broncos? Yeah.
Cheers real quick.
Cheers, brother. And for those who can't have any.
To the floor.
Who are on CQ right now.
Yeah. If you're on staff duty, you can't drink. Well, you're not
right.
supposed
You're
to.
not supposed
So
to.
go ahead. What were you saying?
No. And there was like a map, and it showed who's going to win the Super Bowl. And it was like Hawaii and New England were the only ones that said the Patriots are going to win. And then everybody else was like Denver all the way. And you had like this little blue pocket here and this little blue pocket there. And guess what happened?
Patriots.
That's right.
I was glad, though. I mean,
that was that one where the sign, right? 20, what was that? At the end.
I've hated Brady. No, I didn't hate Brady. I just, because he's so good. And for some reason, you're not allowed to touch him. It's just kind of like, it seems unfair compared to other quarterbacks. But
hey.
The only way I wanted to see him in a Super Bowl again is if it was him and the Chiefs again, and then Mahomes pulled it off.
Oh my God!
I was hoping Mahomes would take it all the way, but
like Edelman, man, that guy catching balls, man,
they're fucking beasts, man. But I'm glad to see like two like newer, fresher teams.
Yeah, I mean it was gonna happen. But it's not these teams here. Just to throw it out here. It's not the forced jersey wearing over here.
It's not the Steelers. But I'm confident now. Ben Roethlisberger's retiring. Thank you. And now it's time for some.
Who's taking a spot? Who's gonna do it? Tebow comes in.
I don't know.
Be like.
I hope we're lucky enough to pick another like Roethlisberger or Brady, right? Like we were talking.
Hey man, seventh draft pick, man. That was the 7th draft pick. See the photos. He's on there, and like it took the owner and Belichick to be like, all right, yeah, we can work with this.
Yeah. And
then just straight up, just bomb after bomb.
Dominated. And I guess I was watching this video on YouTube. I forget what it was called, but it was talking about like Tom Brady, and then it started going into the difference between like college and the NFL. And the way they were describing it is they were saying that the NFL's more faster and the guys are bigger than in college. So the defense, reading the defense is all different, And some people can't do it good in college, but they do it good in the NFL. But in my head, I was trying to think, like, to me, college seems like a faster game. Like, I don't know. They seem to be faster in college than in the NFL.
It's not the same thing. It just is like I sucked at math, but I was really good at statistics.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I couldn't. Dude, I must have taken it when I was in university like 3-4 times. I could never pass it. Statistics, though, man. Oh, my God. I just got it.
I hate math. I suck at math. That's why I studied political science, because there's like no math.
See what happens?
Yeah.
No, but there is some math associated to, I mean, I come from like the psychology background. How do we kind of, incorporate the two?
Well, I mean, I did like the statistics and computer science, which were like the most intense math, but I didn't have to go to like.
But you didn't learn how to do like Vote Builder on there, didn't you?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you just learned political theory basically, political science doesn't teach you anything about like running for office.
Political theory. Did they talk about factions?
Oh, they talk about factions.
They talk about vote counts.
They just talked about like.
They talk about horse trading.
It's basically like we're gonna learn the history of democracy and what else, like communism, socialism,
what to
fascism.
say at fundraisers, what not to say at fundraisers.
Yeah. Now that, if you really want to be involved in politics,
that's the advanced level.
Yeah. Maybe we should start a course like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine. I mean, I'm gonna, this is, I think Don. Anyway, so like he was saying, he was trying to get like a bunch of the former governors, and then like you have students that, okay, you want to put this bill through, which requires money, right, or whatever it is. You're gonna be there, all like the 3 governors as it was, and then sell your idea.
Yeah.
And if you can do it like that, I mean, the thing is, it's constructive criticism, but I mean, that's a firing line right there. And and I mean, I was like, damn, I actually want to do that. That
would be an interesting like project. Yeah.
Well, it was not, but it was like teaching like how to use how to do deductive reasoning, things that so in philosophy it's called erotic questions, where you're asking questions where you're trying to get to the heart of a matter, right? So let's say you have a problem, and then you keep asking these questions to try to reduce it down to be like, okay, so in actuality, it's actually this, right? This whole thing, which leads up to this, the larger picture. And kind of when you have that, then you can kind of get everything to flow from there. If you can get agreement on a premise for which this whole other thing is based upon,
Which is something I feel like most modern elected officials they're just like, wait, there's a problem, throw money.
That's it.
Just more money.
That's it.
But yeah, I think. But then if you did like the 3 governor thing and you had the students selling them, each governor would have to come with a list of like people that he's aligned with, like Monsanto and all these things.
I don't know. I mean,
how do you convince them?
It was more like, I mean, we look at it from. So I'm gonna take like the dollar, the cost analysis, right? Where you're like, for every dollar it's invested here, there's a savings here, cost savings or whatever, right? And like I remember there was this one girl. She was from the mainland anyway. She had this actually a good program, but she went to the Capitol and she went and did this whole emotional thing, and it did nothing.
Yeah, that's.
Then she's like, I did such a good job. I was like, yeah, but when you talk, you have to talk about, the numbers. I don't want to say statistics, but the numbers, the research behind it, and why are we going to do this in order to save money here? And
that's usually what I like. Tried to do when I think about anything. I think about, because I know the biggest thing always, if it doesn't get through the finance committee, doesn't go anywhere. Even if it passes the first 2 committees, if the chair of finance doesn't like it, it's not going to pass.
That's it.
So you have to be able to sell it like, look, we're going to save this money here, by implementing this, and we can spend this money there.
First, you don't you have to be on the good list.
Yeah. You have to be on a good list. Yeah. If you're not liked, I don't know if it's like this in other states. But
no, so I've talked to other people, and they're saying like it's much different in Hawaii. But you know what? It's because you can singe bridges here.
Oh yeah.
But you can't burn them, because you will see the same people over again. They will know other people that and then it's a small island. And it actually, I don't know, I feel like it gets smaller with the more people that come here. Well, it's like once you're in those little circles, then it gets part of it much smaller.
Yeah.
And there's some people who actually want to do some good, but you have people who are nefarious and want to do, they have their own agendas in mind, but it doesn't include the people who are currently here.
Yeah.
And that's something
and that's why I don't want to get too much into it, but with the current situation in Hawaii, there's a lot of corruption going on. Feds are combing through every part of our government, it seems here.
Well,
but it's just weird to me that you run for office, you promise these people you got their back, and then behind the scenes, of course, and this happens in Congress too, and it happens everywhere, you're selling your people out for some campaign contributions, for some fucking poker chips, bro. Like, are you kidding me?
Another one too I look at, and also to that point is, and this is where I'm not gonna say it's the school system, but we need to be more attuned to what level of government does what whatever you have an issue with, right?
Yeah.
And when you can do that, it makes you much more effective as a citizen, as a voter, because when you go in those offices and you start asking for things for which are outside of the purview of that office, you're kind of seen in that light already.
One thing I learned from working at the Capitol, I can't remember. Did you ever work at the state Capitol?
I have no recollection of said events.
I just remember pretty much every committee hearing, the outcome was already known before we sat down. It's just like a dog and pony show. There's no, like, it was taboo if someone on the committee voted against what the chair wanted.
No.
Like, you just didn't do it unless you were the opposing party.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, they'll have like, okay, we're going to go to recess before DM decision making. And it's like, there's no way that they talked about all those different things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it had to have been, like a fait accompli at the time. And like, I'm listening, like, I'm looking at them talking, like, there's no way that everything that they're going to mention after the decision making was everything they talked about. It's probably like, okay, is it chicken katsu? Okay, what do you want?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the same, like, the way the system is not really rigged, but it's just set up for those in power to continue having power. It's kind of the same way, like, Tom Brady kept winning all these Super Bowls, bro. Just cheating. You're cheating out the people. Should have been the Steelers.
Those balls were swollen.
Should have been the Steelers.
I'll tell you right now.
Should have been the Steelers. So, who you going for the Super Bowl?
I don't like either team.
Yeah.
You know what? If there's a couple injuries here and there, I'm okay. I'm just gonna.
I try to be loyal because I'm from Pittsburgh, so the Steelers, they just so happen to be the greatest team ever.
Right.
Lucky me. But since they can't be there, I got whoever the AFC is, which is the Bengals, which is like our rival.
Are you saying the ones who basically got rid of them that they couldn't get into the Super Bowl?
Well, Brady just decided, or not Brady. That dude's on my mind.
I know, man. We call it the Brady Show right now.
Roethlisberger decided, hey, I don't want to keep playing these games and risk getting injured. I'm about to retire. I'll probably gotta get a coaching job, multi-million-dollar deal. I just want to chill. So we're gonna just chill in this game, let them win, and we can all go watch a Super Bowl at my house.
I couldn't see him being like the sportscaster type.
He does have a radio show.
No.
I think it's every Sunday in Pittsburgh, but I never listened to it.
No.
Apparently, that's why Antonio Brown and him had beef, because he would go on. I don't know. I didn't listen to it. Could be fake news, but apparently...
Folks, look at him.
He would go on
the camera and he's lying to you right now.
Well, he would go on and he would talk shit about the team, like, he should have caught that. He, blah, 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 blah. But what are you going to do, man?
I wanted to add, you were talking about, like, corruption and other things. And one of the things that is very telling, not just that, but other things is there are many times we had things where the investigation was local. So it went to the county level, county to state, and then it just ended right there. But then when feds get involved, it's a different story.
Yeah.
They don't care about like where you went to school.
Yeah.
Other things like that. So I was like, it's all fun and games until the feds get involved. But I mean, that's what it is. I mean, we look at what happened even with, like, say, with the police chief, right? There was no way that the feds would have got involved until mailbox, because mailbox is federal.
Yeah.
And
that's just the straw.
And that's it, man. Like, someone was like, they need like saw that thing off, put it in the police in a museum.
I just want to say I want to give credit to that guy who was wearing the wire, who went in and bribed these politicians, and the politicians bought into it. Like,
I don't know the full story. I mean, like,
I give credit to that guy.
I'm reading about it. I think this is what I think. I think he got pinched first, and then he rolled, right? And then he just that's the only way, right? And he became a confidential informant.
I don't forget, but I can forgive his past, because I think at the end of the day it goes into like a human nature, right?
I don't know too much about the guy.
But you're gonna do what you have to do for you to be successful, for your family to be successful.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean, I don't know the full like ins and outs.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, when it comes to like corruption, I can understand why people become corrupt. It's a natural thing, it seems, because it's in every government, it's in every civilization. There's always corruption, because I think the human ego, right? It's about, at the end of the day, it's about me.
Well, think about like we talked about on the federal, right? So like there's like a state IG type of thing, right? And that's, I'm sure all kinds of games can get played on there as it has. But when the feds get involved, again, it's a whole different ballgame. And I think sometimes that's what's needed, you know, because in some cases things are just like we'd say it's a little too close. There's a level of trust involved, but you know, it's easy.
We can see your face.
Yeah, it's easy for people to.
Oh yeah, look at that face.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Can I hide this? Or just still wear this thing here?
Yeah, you still got it.
Oh man. Okay, but you know what I mean, like where it's you have individuals where they, you have investigations like we mentioned, right? And if it goes back to the same group, if you will, that doesn't have that outside viewpoint of it, where they're not influenced by, like we were talking about, right? Either family or job or something where it's negative toward them and their lives. Sometimes you'll never get to the end, to the truth of what's going on. But also when we talk about police, I don't know if you saw it, but did you see that map? The SHOPO map?
Of the lack of patrols.
Lack of patrols. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think, and I'm going to be completely honest because I don't believe in censoring myself or my opinions about, you know.
Except for the Steelers. Except for the Steelers.
But I think if you were at HPD and you took that COVID money and you bought 45 brand new fucking ATVs, which is unnecessary, and then you bought a multi-million-dollar fucking robot dog, which is completely unnecessary, and then you say, oh, well, we don't have the budget to, you know, bring on more police. No, that's kind of like what the COVID thing was for. You could have used that.
So that's the thing I think is like, could you, so like, for example, a lot of contracts from COVID, right, are temporary. So when you bring a police officer on, for example, can you bring them on a temporary basis? I don't know the answer to that.
I think you could bring them on as like temporary with the money, and then
what, cut their line?
If they're doing the job that they should be doing, then you can tell city council, hey,
but
we need you to match these funds in this
so
sense.
Like after the COVID money's gone, then to match these funds later on.
Because I think it takes. I think it takes sitting down. Like, okay, so I come and I say, okay, here's $100. Do what you need to help with the COVID situation.
But that's not how it goes.
I don't know, but I'm saying. So if you...
There's rules, folks.
Yeah.
There's actually rules to this money. I don't know what the rules were for them. I know for other parts, you know, so... Like,
well, listen, if you can have nonprofits getting money from the city to buy properties, which are going to be theirs forever, then I think the city could, you know,
but it's
hire
not up
more
to
police.
But it's not up to them, though. If you had the money, so for example, you had, you know, groups that came out that helped with COVID, right? Those are temporary positions. So, for example, like contact tracers, those aren't going to be, as far as I understand, long-term, you know, bargaining unit positions. They're just there 89-day hire to another 89-day hire.
To what, 2-year hire now?
Depends, right? But still, even if they're 89-day hire, the other thing about it is they don't get any health care.
Well,
they don't get any health care. They don't get any
Well, but my thing is, like, when it comes to the money and the waste of money, which people don't really think about, but when you look at your paycheck and they're taking all these taxes out and you're like, damn, there's so many taxes. Well, it's going to dumb shit that no one has any accountability of and that nobody's reining in spending. Now, okay, so let's just slide into, like, they want to raise the minimum wage. Okay, so what are you going to do for the small businesses? What are you going to do with other taxes that we have? Can we lower some other shit?
So that's why I always look at, like, housing as an example, right? Because if you can lower the cost of housing, I think we had a conversation about this, to a point.
Wasn't me. Who else was it with, bro?
I was cheating on you. So let's say, you know, we were able to get a room, and a room was, let's say,
a room together?
Together, yeah. So we can wear these jerseys. But no, on a serious note, let's say, you know, most of it is single individuals, right, looking for a place to stay. And let's say you were able to, you know, a very, and I don't mean like micro unit kind of thing, but like a kind of a, they're sharing a room, almost like what we talk about, sharing a house.
Like Seinfeld. Nice ass apartment.
Yeah. And let's say we're able to do it for $500 a month, right? Or less than that for a person to be there. Could that help that individual out? Let's say they had any job, right? could that help in some level of stability, right? It's not $1,000 for the room.
Yeah.
If it's about 500, could we get, even if we had the minimum wage as it is right now minus inflation, and you're able to reduce, I mean, that is one of the things, the largest cost for an individual is housing. And if you're able to reduce that cost dramatically and find ways to continue to reduce those costs, then there's a cost savings, right? And then you have options. One thing I don't like sometimes is people are like, oh, well, all people have to do is just budget it out or have financial literacy. There's a point. Yeah, you can have financial literacy, but you can't, educate in terms of financial literacy yourself and for those individuals out of, the cost of, let's say that they work and what is it? 10.10, I believe is minimum wage.
Yeah.
And but their expenses, if their housing is, you can't.
And they're probably not getting.
There's no way they're going to be able to do the things that those persons talking about, right? Because there's no the thing is disposable income. If we can increase the disposable income level, that's what gives options.
Because it's also right in Hawaii, you have to work 20 hours to get health coverage.
Yeah, anything.
So a lot of people get 19 and less.
That's it.
I work at the food stamp office.
Prepaid Healthcare Act, 1974.
And it's so sad because a lot of people are stuck in a situation where they, like, especially single parents, where they could get a job, but then they lose the health coverage for their
because
kid.
There's that cliff.
And they lose the food stamps and the financial.
And I really wish people knew about that cliff.
But now here's what I want to know. When they're drafting the minimum wage increases, the federal government isn't changing the poverty line for the federal benefits.
Nope.
So these people are going to end up with less hours, more taxes, even though they're making more, and they're going to come into the same boat.
This is why I keep talking about housing.
Yeah, but their thing is, for food stamps, financial benefits, gross income.
Mm-hmm.
So you're raising their gross income, and you're fucking them with any benefits that they have.
There's actually a bill right now that I'm actually looked at, and I asked this question. I said, hey, did you guys actually consider, almost like what you're talking about? And it just didn't slip anybody's mind. And that's the kind of thing when we talk about, when we look at things in a critical manner, we want to get to the actual heart, like what actually is, yes, this is a problem, but you're saying, okay, but it's actually at the federal level, or if we do this, how does it affect this whole other larger part here? And in some cases, like you're saying, we either throw money at it or we create a rule or a law, either administratively or through the HRS, Hawaii Revised Statute. And in some cases, it makes it worse. So, like, there was a bill, I really like this bill, where you could increase the assets for somebody who was lower income, who were in low-income housing. There was a lot of resistance to it because they're like, oh, why did you want them to, be able to accumulate? There's two reasons. Number one.
Jesus God.
But the thing was,
why do you want people to succeed?
Yeah, it was like, so it's like, so they have, so they have a contingency fund. So if something does happen, it's there. Or you don't want it where an individual is so, if something, even like they miss 1 month, right, then they're in trouble. That's where I look at housing. I say, if you're able to take the savings from that and being able to save or do whatever, that is what I think is important. I don't care, you can accumulate whatever it is in terms of assets.
I do think that all federal benefits should come with a stipulation, though. Like, to be honest, if you're able to work, you should have to work. Like, there's a lot of people that are able to work that just aren't.
Well, I mean, let's go back to what you're saying, right? So
and again, like, I work at the food stamp office.
But you're saying also the cliff, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that's not talked about is the cliff.
Well, yeah, no, that's part of the cliff.
And I think that that's something worth looking into. The other thing, too, is that, you have individuals where you have the federal marketplace, for example, and I'm sorry to be wonky, folks, but he'll understand what I'm talking about. Up to 100 and I believe it was about 200 federal poverty line percentage, where 400 FPL, federal poverty line for Hawaii, where there's subsidies for, and I don't mean Quest, but the federal marketplace type of, plans. And that's a different pot of money than the $3 billion we get from the feds. And that's the kind of thing that you look at, like, okay, how do we still provide a different service? How do we, different pots of money?
I've always had this, like, thought in my mind as to why can't we deem certain things national security issues? Okay, if you have an uneducated population, if you have an unhoused, unhealthy population, you can't defend your country. So
because it's probably the same people that made it very difficult to join the military. Because you have those older people who are like, when I was a screw up, I went to the military, right?
Yeah.
Now, what does it take to be in the military? This is for your wonderful viewers out there. If you have 1,000 people that try to join the military, right off the bat, 750 they don't qualify. And then they go to what's called MEPS, military entry processing, right? And then they lose about another 8%. And then of those people, you may have some drop off because they don't want to go through the full process. Aside from some disqualifications medically. And then you have some drop off even from there. So let's say you start out with 1,000, you may have 180, maybe 170, right around there.
Well, now think about that. Okay, so let's just take 180 because it's a nice round number. Of those 180, how many of them are going to actually get in the military and be good soldiers? Yeah. And let me just start this off by saying, I wasn't the best soldier. I had a very bad attitude. I didn't enjoy being active duty. I was active and reserves. I liked being reserves, and I liked being deployed to Iraq. But I didn't like the active duty lifestyle. So I would have been one of the numbers that was kind of like, well, I don't know. Do we keep this dude, or what do we do with him? So when it comes, so going back, my thing is, I think if we have a limited pot of money, and this is the problem with elected officials, a lot of them have just been in government their whole life. Their family was in government. Now they're in government. They've never really worked a job, owned a business. They don't know what it's really like to earn an hourly wage at minimum wage, trying to get a spot on their own. One of the biggest things, of course, is childcare. I've come to the idea that maybe instead of funding 4 years of college, if we have a limited pot of money, we fund childcare so people can go to work and they can go to school. Because it's great you pay for community college, but come on, we're paying for political science, we're paying for economics, listen, everyone knows that these are like not really.
So even when we're talking about political degrees. Science, so there's a thing called the promise, right? But you have to exhaust all other forms of money before you actually put into this thing where they pay for it. Now, and we have really good evidence of this, is after World War II,
All right, well, the camera got bored with whatever the fuck Ken was talking about. So, but I guess, yeah.
So where were we?
You said a lot of great things. Well, it was blacked out. It's a shame that the other people
really
didn't
you're
get to
gonna use
hear
that
it.
word. You're gonna.
But I guess my thing is just, we need people, as in bodies, as a nation, to continue economically in the future. People working. We should take care of childcare. Which Biden wanted to do.
So let's go back to childcare, right? Childcare, early development is important, right? However, when we're looking at as paying for education, or people calling it paying for education, after in World War II, when you had, I want some of that, looks good, Jack Daniels, baby. I have to finish this water first. For every dollar that was invested, and you were talking about subsidized education, GI Bill, what have you. For every dollar was invested, it was about a $7 return to the economy. We've made it where it's, it's your responsibility to pay for school. You're talking about at a national level, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what it was taken as of national security, because you had all this population coming back. You had communism from the Soviet Union that they were trying to compete with. So it was important to have that educated population. And from that, an educated population, you had a lot of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, too, was, we talk about minimum wage, you had unions, too. And unions actually took care of individuals, right? As we start moving on to the early 70s, and we talked about this, air traffic controllers was kind of the beginning of the end. you had this for the production that was going on. You had the amount of income or wages commensurate with that. And now we don't see that as much. And now the narrative is oh, you have to work for yourself or take care. But what's lost in there is all these things that were there before, which you talk about in terms of national security. If you don't have a thriving economy with, members of that economy that's kind of go along with it, it's very hard to have, that. Now, let's look at today. One of the biggest things we have here is automation. It's coming slowly in other areas. You're going to have individuals who they're not going to, they're not going to be part of that job, because if the jobs now require people to be more technical, that takes out part of the population. And then as we continue, and that's something that we need to think about. This is where I actually like Andrew Yang when he talks about a value-added tax. And I really agree with that, because you're going to have companies that say, oh, we're just going to move to automation, right? And whatever profit margin they're making from before, they're going to continue on. You keep talking about the small mom and pop, and you're absolutely right. But the small mom and pop had a hard time trying to compete with as things went on.
Oh, yeah.
Because why? People didn't have disposable income. So where do they go? The cheapest places to go, right? So it's just like I have in my area. I have this one restaurant. It's about $15 to $20 a plate.
Which one's that?
It's that Mexican place.
Oh,
like the only thing keeping it afloat, if it's still there, are not people
by the Jolly Bee
from the
that food is so good.
It
though.
is, but the thing about it is that per the population and the disposable income that they have, and that's what you got to look at, right?
Yeah.
So like the place that's they go to is like 7-Eleven, right? Because disposable income, they don't have it, right? When you have individuals that have disposable income, they're more likely to, you can say things like support local business, right?
Yeah.
Because they have the money to do so, right?
Well,
so it's that kind of.
It's also funny about the taco place. Like, the prices are kind of like, the people who are going to pay those prices that have that money, like disposable income, aren't going to come into Kalihi.
They're not going to go.
I went because my office is right by it.
Well, and that's another point too, is this like.
But maybe it was cheap.
Well, that's the thing. Even from a business standpoint, you have to know where your who is your target market. Are they going to come to those areas? Is it, and let's talk about target market, right, for a second. Using public transportation, and utilizing it to its fullest. I was with some friends. We're out in Waimanalo, and I saw there's this really, really nice facility that's out there that they have for sports, and then right next to it is Job Corps. But it's all in the back. And I take the bus. I have no problem taking the bus. I like public transportation. I think that we need to actually
it's like your own chauffeur, bro. You just wait till it shows up, get on, sit down, take a nap.
Well,
off.
I mean, I'm trying to get more, more routes and more, and the time part. But anyway, in my head, I'm thinking, there's no bus stop here. What the hell? And I've seen it. So when we talk about people who are kind of disconnected from what's going on, they're not thinking that. They're like, oh, I'm just going to drive here and it's fine. It's convenient, right? Because it's right there.
But see, that goes into my, when it comes to the elected officials who are coming up with these decisions, when I worked at the Capitol, I would sit in these meetings. I'm like, wait, luckily I worked for some great bosses and they always took input. Hey, what did you, what is your experience with this? What do you know about that?
Can I have input of the Jack Daniels?
Yeah. And it's like, but these other politicians are just like, oh yeah, we'll do this. We'll throw money at it, or we'll build this here. And you're like, wait, but what's the impact?
Well, you know what?
Like, what are you trying to solve?
It was, so a friend actually had a really good idea.
Yeah,
so they
friends.
had I know. Thank you, friend. No. It's like the park they're trying to make out in Waimanalo, and I think it's.
Want me to pour for you while you talk?
Really good idea. Yes, please. Thank you, kind sir.
Yeah, usually Steelers fans, we're really generous.
I don't need that much. That's like half of what you got. Is use some of that park and use it as part of a medical thing, even for a 2-year, or just getting certificates. And I think that would do a world of good. It's right where the buses are. I mean, I look at things of like, if we're going to put programs together, where are your lines of public transportation? Right? Not everybody has a car. So like for my area, 30% use public transportation, and the national average, which is considered high, is 12%. If you are able to do that, then you're along, let's say we talk about housing, other things, that increases standard of living. They can go to those places. It's convenient.
Which, it's funny you bring up the public transportation, because isn't there like a bill going through to raise the bus fare again?
I understand about that one. There's part of it is just like,
it kills me. No, it kills me
because they don't try to find money elsewhere.
Exactly.
And it's not something where you want to make it into a moneymaker. It's this public service. And I give an example. And East Vamanalo is a great example. They have the post office there. It's a small little post office. It will make absolutely no money for the post office, right?
Yeah.
The post office, they actually do make money minus some of the things that they have to pay for or whatnot. That location will never make them money.
Yeah.
But it's a public service.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to look at it from that angle.
Well, I think it's also because, it's a public service. Our tax money's going to it. You want the public to ride these things. In my opinion, it should be free.
I agree.
And, the rail should be free. You shouldn't go into these projects thinking about how much you're going to have to charge people to participate in it.
I 100% agree with you on that.
Because it kind of goes back into like what we were talking about earlier with the housing and all that. Like, this is just like a cost that people don't have to incur.
Well, here's another thing too. So like, we talk about, so what Hawaii has is what's called a general excise tax, right? And how do we capture more from the tourist side and kind of have relief for the
We just
residents?
start mugging them as soon as they land, as soon as they get off the plane. Just
30%.
scan their code, their credit cards with RFID reader things.
There you go.
Just start stealing all their info.
No. So but see, it takes us like, okay, so where should we get our revenue from, right? And I think that a large part is how do we shelter the community from those taxes? And there's ways to do it. I have actually seen bills from before. I think it was back in early 90s.
Like I had Senator Willis Sparrow on last, and he was talking about legalizing cannabis, marijuana, like that whole industry, and a way to bring in different jobs, new jobs, and drive tax revenue. Something like maybe like a state lottery, something like that. But then what's going to happen if you build like a state lottery? Then you're building the whole administrative side of it, which is going to be 6-figure salary, retirement for somebody.
Even if you did, the thing about it is that, again, let's look at the GE, right? So for every increase, and this is on its totality, for every 0.5% increase of the GE is about $800 million. So, and
make it half.
The other part too is that most tourists are not going to come to Hawaii and be like, damn, those taxes are too high. We don't want to come.
They don't care.
So it's like, number one, how do we get them to pay the larger share of that and, create a kind of a buffer against the rest of the residents here? And I think it can be done. But you take that money that you're talking about, right? You put it and implement it in things that we know are going to have that return. And I don't mean return as in some cases, money coming back. If we have the ability to have people being able to use public transportation, but it saves us somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. Same thing like with homelessness, right? So you have a person on the street, they're usually using the ambulance. We talked about this before. Even at one time a month and emergency room, it's close to, for the year, almost about $50,000-$60,000. Now, could we take that and put it where it makes more sense in terms of other part of housing and supportive services? Yeah, we could.
Yeah, but why?
That's right. But we want to put it where it's far away.
Listen, I want to be able to put on a campaign flyer that I'm fighting for the working class and I support raising the minimum wage. Because I've been representing districts that I could have been helping economically for a decade, but I chose not to. So they're so poor that they're still, voting for me because I'm fighting for the working class.
And that's to me, that's kind of an issue because I get platitudes to a certain extent, but like, what are you trying to do, right? if you're trying to increase standard of living, what does that mean? Let's go. This is where we're talking about erudite questions. Okay, so you're saying standard of living. What do you actually mean by this? I want to make lives better. Okay, what does that actually mean? Give me an example. Okay, well, I want this to, go to, everybody go to university. Okay, does everybody have the ability to go to university?
But does everyone want to go to university?
That's the other part too, right? But that's how you start asking those questions and be like, okay, so you want to build up people's standard of living, but your model doesn't make sense as you go through it. If you talk about how do we reduce the cost of housing, how do we get more free services, how do we get, tourists in order to pay the larger share of the GE taxes, those things would probably work,
Well, it's like when it comes to like education, I'm grateful because I had the GI Bill, right? But do I think
and look at
that
you now
other people
wearing a Steelers jersey?
Going
far in life.
It was a great education. But my thing is like there are a lot of degrees that are not worth it. Like they're not worth the people investing their tax dollars in trying to get you to go something in STEM like that. Yeah, okay. But if you're going to study like political science, economics,
I'm going to go back to what happened back again.
And you want to go for free? Because wait, no, let's talk about the other thing real quick.
What? Go ahead.
Most people in college are doing kind of the bare minimum. They're drinking, they're partying, showing up to class occasionally, because a lot of classes you don't have to go every day. You just have to turn in the work. So it's kind of like it's evolved into basically like a business, and it's kind of almost like a scam because they tell you like, oh, we were, at least when I was growing up, I was told, oh, you have to go to college to get a good job. You have to do this, you have to do that. Not really. I used to do construction. I grew up doing construction with my dad, yeah? Mm-hmm. I was making like $25 an hour before I left for active duty for the Army. Mm-hmm. And, that was back in the early 2000s. I don't make that now. Well, and I have a master's degree.
So let's go back to it, right? Regardless of what people were, I mean, I don't think that they were caring about what people were getting back here. But for every dollar that was invested to that person's education, whatever came out of it, right? Creativity, other things like that, it created this $7 return. So I don't particularly care if we can get something close to that from what we had before. So be it. The thing about it is that I understand what you're talking about, right? Yeah. Even if it was part of that. But you have this love of creativity that was there too. And that love of creativity is important when it comes to innovation.
Yeah, which will be interesting about China in the future.
Oh God.
Because they've spent decades just copying our material.
Actually, they copied Japan.
Oh really? Yeah.
And Japan copied the United States. Which was they took this very the corporation as the leader, if you will, or the corporation will the government will tell the corporation, you're going to do this. Japan did that originally after World War II. But then the Chinese followed that. Which
is interesting because, a lot of people don't know that there was a supreme emperor of Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it was American. It was, what's his name?
Oh, yeah, after the end. I forgot his name. Yeah. And
wait, why do I know? Is it Eisenhower?
No.
What the fuck?
But what was I love history, so that's got a second one in that one. But
I think we don't talk about it because we're allied nations. But yeah, there was an American general in charge of Japan.
Yeah, it was MacArthur. But the thing about but you know what? We took that into the third largest economy, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think that, and America, even Hawaii, is different, but that work ethic of everybody working together, I think that that's very important, because if we all look at let's say we have a goal that we want to do. Mm-hmm. I understand people feel kind of like, oh, well, but that doesn't make sense, or they're just going to be that lazy person. If the larger whole is, that larger goal is already, is taken care of and achieved. Mm. You're always going to have individuals, just like when you talk about the military, that are just like that. But I mean, you can.
But this is what I always argue, is that America's a melting pot, but we're not collectivists. We're individualists.
Yeah, exactly. But
to be honest,
Hawaii's a little bit more collectivistic.
Yeah. But for the most part, the mainland it's like, oh, bro, that's the German neighborhood. Fuck them, I don't care. That's the Italian neighborhood. Fuck them, I don't care what goes on.
I don't
there.
care what goes on
You know?
until you want your pizza, motherfucker.
Yeah, and then it's just like but there's no one's willing to like sacrifice to help others. Where other countries, like let's just say China, you know, they're all willing to do whatever it takes for the next generation to succeed.
And that's something that
I'm half Irish, by the way, so
so thank you.
I just want to say shout out to the Irish folks. But wait, real quick, we're about to close it out. The Super Bowl's about to start. Ken Farm, give us some words of wisdom, real quick, for the people who are listening or watching, and they want to hear that beautiful voice of yours.
All right. Well, when you look at a problem, try to understand down to the lowest form of what that problem is. Get down to things where it comes down to basic premises. Because if you can agree or disagree on premises, everything else is going to flow from there. So whatever your policy is, how you're going to handle those things. It sounds weird, but when you go down to it, ask the questions to get down to the lower level. That's where you're going to find out what the issue actually is. And another part about it too is that it trains you to be more of a critical thinker. You start with the problem and try to work your way back.
Yeah, no, perfect, man. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
I'm sorry, folks, that I have to wear this for you.
Yeah, thanks for being a good sport, wearing the Steelers jersey. Now I gotta wash it. But
man. All
right, thanks anyone who was listening and watching. And let's just hope the Bengals and the AFC win this Super. We'll see.
Wow.
All right, peace.